Today we're going to talk about Apple's surprise announcement of a new iPad. And the real question here is, which model of iPad is actually the best for you when it comes to digital illustration? So stick around until the end of this video to find out more. My name's Leo and you're watching Ghost Paper, so now let's get started. So Apple announced on their September special event many things, going from the new Apple iWatch Series 5 to the new iPhone 11 Pro with multiple cameras. However, in the middle of the presentation, Apple dropped a new option for all iPad users, a 7th generation iPad with a screen of 10.2 inches and a few interesting features. It has Retina display with IPS technology, it supports the Apple Pencil, it's got a higher than HD resolution going at 2160 by 1620 pixels with 264 ppi, which stands for pixels per inch, and it comes with an A10 Fusion chip with 64-bit architecture. So with all of these features, I'm going to actually compare the new iPad with the biggest iPad Pro, which is the one that I currently use for all of my digital illustration work that is done outside of the computer. If you are considering getting a new iPad, the ultimate goal here for this video is for you to discover which option is actually the best for you based on your personal needs. So let's get to it. The first thing here to talk about is the price of each model. And for that, I'm going to consider only the Wi-Fi versions of the iPad. The new iPad that's coming out on September 30th this year starts at $329 versus the iPad Pro, which starts at $799, and that is for the 11 inches version, which is literally 0.8 inches bigger than this new iPad. For the 12.9 inches, the iPad starts at $999. So right there's a big jump in terms of price comparing these models, which I really have to say I'm going to give the point to the new iPad. Moving on, let's talk about the core component, the chip on each iPad. For the new iPad that's coming out at the end of September, the chip is the A10 Fusion chip with 64-bit architecture. It also has an embedded M10 coprocessor. Now for the iPad Pro, we got the A12X Bionic chip with 64-bit architecture. You got the neural engine and the embedded M12 coprocessor. According to Apple, the A12 processor actually performs 95% higher performance of the CPU cores compared to the previous models of the iPad that do run on the 12X processor. But in order to give you a more proper example, let's say for Procreate, if we want to open a new 4K file, you're going to be given on the iPad Pro, you're going to be given around 60 layers to be able to work with. Whereas at least on the previous models of the iPad, it's not confirmed for this new model as we don't know, we haven't tested out yet, but you have about 20 layers with the same canvas with a 4K file as well. So this is just a good benchmark for you to know the differences between memory and CPU and performance. So is 20 layers a big deal? Maybe not if you're actually organized and you keep it down to a minimum number of layers. So now let's talk about screen size. The new iPad is promised to have a diagonal picture of 10.2 inches versus 11 inches on the first option of the iPad Pro and 12.9 inches for the biggest iPad Pro version. However, it's really interesting to see that they both have the same pixel density. So in terms of crispness and quality of the image, you're actually going to get the same quality of crispness between the new iPad and the iPad Pro, no matter what size you're getting. So once again, that is a big point for the new iPad. When it comes to the technology on the screens, the iPad Pros, they do have something that I consider something that is quite a bit better, which is the laminated display. And the laminated display goes for the what we know as the parallax, which happens from the tip of your Apple Pencil to the screen of your iPad. So in this case for the iPad Pro, you're almost not going to see any space between the tip of the pen and the canvas on the iPad, whereas for the iPad that's coming out, you will definitely see a little bit of a separation. So you do have to think about that if parallax is a big deal for you and you don't mind spending the extra dollars. So the iPad Pro is quite possibly a better option for you. It is also worth noting that the iPad Pro comes with something called the True Tone Display technology that does support the P3 wide color range, as well as a brighter nit count of 600. the new iPad is coming out with 500 nits. Basically, if you are actually working, let's say with typography designs, if you are a graphic designer that's working in the, let's say, the first stages of graphic design, sketching, making layouts, stuff that doesn't really get to the color section of a certain job or even illustration, then color accuracy may not be the most important thing for you. So in fact, you could go with the iPad model. Another great example is being a storyboard artist. If you're doing mostly storyboards and they're mostly, let's just say, black and white, you could actually consider going with the iPad instead of going with the iPad Pro. But in the case that you are actually, you are working with graphic design and you are delivering print-ready files or files that are going to go straight up from your iPad to, let's say, a website, or you're going to actually get print-ready files and sending straight up to the printer. Procreate 5 is coming out with CMYK support, and a lot of apps are probably in the future going to start working with CMYK. So there are a lot of things that, in fact, going with the Apple Pro that has the True Tone display might be something you should consider. Next, let's talk about the Apple Pencil. So for both models now, the iPad and the iPad Pro, they both support the Apple Pencil. However, there is one small catch, or some might say even a bit of a bigger catch in this one, is that the iPad that's coming out supports the Apple Pencil first generation, and whereas the Apple Pro supports the Apple Pencil second generation, which is this one. In fact, this one has a sticker applied that I got from a third-party website. So this is not, of course, how the Apple Pencil second generation comes out of the box, but this is an Apple Pencil second generation. And the fact that I've used both pencils, I can honestly say I had a great experience with both pencils. I can just say that the Apple Pencil first generation seems like a heavier pencil, and it feels like a little bit taller. I don't have it here right now to actually be able to compare both, but it just feels like a heavier pencil, and it doesn't have this facet right here, which is this kind of a straight facet, which allows a better grip, and that is on the Apple Pencil second generation, which also has the right click functionality. However, I do have to say that I like the fact that the Apple Pencil second generation charges with a clip, whereas the Apple Pencil first generation has a really awkward kind of, it's a lightning connector that you actually hook up to the bottom of your iPad. So all signs point to that this new iPad will not be USB-C compatible. Next, something that is actually worth mentioning here is not about the difference in weight between the iPad, the new iPad, and the iPad Pro, but rather the usage that you're actually gonna have for this tool. So what I actually want to talk about is the grip. So for example, in my case here, for my usage, I'm actually gonna use the iPad Pro on my desk. It's always gonna be on my desk, whether I'm at home or I'm at work. In the case that you're actually using this iPad for your commute, if you actually want to spend some time doing sketches and illustrations, watching videos, tutorials, if you actually want to use your iPad on a bus or a train or like the subway, then you really have to consider the grip and holding this iPad for the duration of your commute. So let's say, for example, your commute is about an hour and you're holding your iPad and doing sketches. If you're actually holding this version, the iPad Pro 12.9 inches, it's definitely going to be a bit more of a strain on your wrist and on your hand than holding a much smaller iPad and just being able to draw, such as the new iPad that's coming out. So this is really something you need to consider. If you're able to prop that iPad onto your lap as you're drawing, that's of course fine if you go with the iPad Pro, but you have to think that then is a bit of a strain on your neck. And some people do prefer to hold the iPad higher to their eye level, and therefore it's better to hold a smaller iPad that's not going to give you a lot of strain on your wrist. So please consider that when you're thinking what will be the usage for your iPad. And also, the new iPad will be offering support for the full-size smart keyboard that is offered by Apple. So again, if you're writing a lot of notes, if you write scripts, this feature, being able to actually use the smart keyboard, is definitely more appealing with a lower price. That's what the iPad is going to come out with compared to the iPad Pro. So in conclusion here, guys, for this video, if you don't mind actually working with the first generation Apple Pencil if you don't mind a little bit of parallax when you're drawing and using your iPad, and if you don't mind the gap on color accuracy and color brightness, then certainly the new iPad is a really good solution for you. If you do digital illustration, if you're a graphic designer that really relies on color accuracy and delivering files for clients and projects, and you're using the iPad as one of the major tools in your production line to generate your assets, then I would say the iPad Pro is a very good investment. Especially if you're using for professional reasons. If you're doing more as a hobby, if you're just starting to work with digital illustration, the new iPad is a great option, is a great entry-level iPad for you to practice your skills and kind of take it from there. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Now let me know in the comment section, what are your thoughts about Apple's vision for the iPad family? Do you think that with the addition of new iPads, Apple's going to remove or kill some of the older models? For example, what's going to happen with the iPad mini? What's going to happen with the iPad Air? Do you think they still have space in the market? Or even if Apple's ideology is actually to be one similar as the Android one, which actually offers many models of many phones with different prices. So in a sense, it's almost like there's an iPad for everyone. So let me know in the comment section, what are your thoughts about how the iPads are going to evolve from here, if we're only going to see the iPad Pro with the new iPad and a few others, or if Apple is going to stick with all of those options for the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.